back. Today we're going to be learning an easy up the neck break for Foggy Mountain Breakdown for beginners. Here's how it will sound when we get it all put together. The portion that we're learning today begins directly after what we learned last time. As you'll recall, the break that we learned last time ended with a G lick. If you're just playing the first break, there's a small transitional roll that you won't use. If you're just playing the second break, you won't probably use this roll either. But if you're playing both of the breaks together in sequence, then you will use it after the G lick. Here's what it sounds like after the G lick. This transitional roll gives you time to move up to the left hand position that you'll need to begin the second break. Here's what that transitional roll looks like. All I'm doing is hitting the low G string with my thumb and then the high D and G strings with my thumb and middle finger. I do that twice. That gets you ready to go into the left hand position that you'll need to begin the second break. To begin the up the neck part of the second break, you'll want to have your pointer finger at the 10th fret on the B string, your middle finger at the 12th fret on the low G string, and your ring finger on the 12th fret of the high D string. Here's how it begins. So I start by hitting the B string with my pointer finger, and then the high D string with my middle finger, and then the low G string with my thumb. Then the high D string with my middle finger, then the low G string with my thumb. Then I'll fret the high D string at the 14th fret with my pinky. Then I'll hit the low G string with my thumb again. Then I'll release my pinky from the 14th fret of the high D string and play it again at the 12th fret. Then I'll hit the low G string with my thumb again. After this, you'll want to take your middle and ring fingers off at the 12th fret and get ready to slide your pointer finger down to the 8th fret. Here's what we just learned and the next part sound like together. Fortunately, this second part's a lot easier. It's just a Foggy Mountain roll. After you play the Foggy Mountain roll, you'll play the B string at the 8th fret. So together it sounds like. So altogether, here's what we have so far. The next part that we're about to do is congruent with the E minor slides in the first part. Here's what we've already learned will sound like together with the next part. we moved our pointer finger down from the 10th fret to the 8th fret, it wasn't just for show. That puts us in position to do the E minor slide that's coming up next. So with your finger down at the 8th fret, your pointer finger down on the B string at the 8th fret, get ready to put your middle finger over past your pointer finger on the low G string at the 8th fret, because that's going to be our slide component, moving it from the 8th fret to the 9th fret. Now, the way that I've built this beginner break, there are some pauses in it that give you time to prepare for the next step. But if you were playing a more advanced break, you would be making notes during that time as well. And I may make another video showing some things that you could do to fill in that space, but it's a bit more advanced. So you'll need to practice along with a track or a tape. I'll provide some of those at the end of this video, but that'll help you get a sense for the timing of starting the E minor slide. So there will be a pause. There was a significant pause there. Wait, wait. Okay, so now actually into the mechanics of that E minor slide. You'll begin by picking the G string at the 8th fret with your thumb, and then slide out to the 9th fret, along with your ring finger on the high D string at the 9th fret, and then work your way down from the top. High D, B, G, and then back up. G, B, D. Here's what it sounds like so far. After that, you'll move your thumb down to the high G string. So you hit the high G, and then work your way back down from the high D. High D, B, low G. After that, you'll hit the high D with your middle finger. Here's what that sounds like all together. Then you'll repeat part of what you've already learned. By going to the high G, and then working your way back down. High D, B, G, and then, this is different from what we've learned so far, you'll break that pattern by hitting the high D again, then the B again. And then 2 backwards rolls with the high G string, the high D string, and the B string. Here's what all that sounds like together. Then you'll have another pause. After that pause, you'll repeat what you already learned. But this time, after you do the 2 backward rolls, you'll do 1.5 forward rolls. 1 full forward roll, and then another half forward roll. I'm hitting the high G, B, D, and then the high G and B again. Then, move back to the original finger position with your pointer at the 10th fret on the B string, your ring finger at the 12th fret on the high D string, and your middle finger at the 12th fret on the G string. For this. Now this is almost 2 Foggy Mountain rolls. The first one is a Foggy Mountain roll. The second one is kind of like a Foggy Mountain roll. For the second one, you'll move your pointer finger, which was at the 10th fret on the B string, up 1 fret to the 11th fret. Kind of puts a bit of tension into the music. Now the only thing that I'm doing different from a Foggy Mountain roll there is instead of ending on the high G string, I end on the B string. After that, it's just a G lick. Now, if you're not ending the song here, then you're done with this break at this point. But if you are ending the song here, then there's a fun little ending lick that you can do. And here's what that sounds like. This is really easy to do. It's just a few forward rolls and then a couple of pinches. Start with your pointer finger at the 9th fret on the high D string and your ring finger at the 11th fret on the B string. And then do a forward roll. After you've done one forward roll and hit the high G string again, then you'll do another forward roll, except this time you're hitting the high G string, the low G string, and the D string. So first time you're hitting the high G, the B, and the high D. Second time you're hitting the high G, low G, and D, high D. So here's what that sounds like. Do this twice. Do this 3 times. Then stop with that, put your pointer finger at the 15th fret and your ring finger at the 16th fret. Pointer finger is on the B string, ring finger is on the high D string. Pinch with your high G string, B string, and high D string. Then slide your ring finger up 1 fret. If you've learned enough for one day, then skip to the end of the video for practice tracks, links to practice tracks, and links to the original video if you haven't seen it yet. If you're interested in adding a little bit more complexity to your second break, then continue watching and I'll show you just a couple of tricks to help fill in some of the gaps. Here's the simple break that we learned. Now you may have noticed with the simple break that I taught that there are a couple places that seem a little static. One of them is the pause before the E minor slide. The second one is during the E minor slide. You're hitting the same notes over again. It just doesn't seem to, it's not as fun as it could be. I made those simplifications when I was first learning this because it made it easier for me to play. But if you're interested in adding some complexity, then there are a couple things you can do. Before the E minor slide. Before the E minor slide, there's this. It's basically just a filler, but it does make things a little bit more cohesive. So before the E minor slide, where you move your middle finger up into the little slide there, the E minor chord. Before you move your middle finger into the E minor chord, E minor, you can kind of complete that chord with your ring finger and do a forward roll. Here's what that sounds like in context. Yeah, you get the idea. So basically, it fills in that pause that we talked about earlier in the lesson. Another thing that you can do to make the E minor portion itself a little less static is add your pinky up at the 11th fret. Now this can be a little bit difficult because number one, it's a reach. It's kind of hard to get it up there. And number two, you know, well, at least in my case, my pinky is just not as agile as my other fingers, but here's what that sounds like. And for me, it was really, really hard to speed it up. So here's how that works. You do the slide, work your way back down, then hit the high G string like we talked about before. And then for the second part, work your way up, then you go back down to that 11th fret with the pinky. And then release it immediately. Hit it, back up to the high D, and then release it. And then hit the low G, and then work your way back down to the now fretted at the 8th fret B string. And then back up to what we learned in the easy lesson. And if you want the so those are some ways that you can add a little bit more complexity to your break. And if you want something more complex than that, then I'm not your guy right now. I need to do a bit more complexifying of my own before I'll be able to make another video on that. But I hope the lesson has been useful to you, and again, I've included some practice tracks, sort of slowed down versions of the song, and a link to the original video in the black screen, which is about to appear. So yeah, I hope this has been useful to you, and hopefully I will make some new videos again sometime soon. I was thinking that if I get a good response to this video, I might do another one on Blackberry Blossom. It's kind of fun to learn. It was one of the first ones that I learned. So let me know if this video was useful to you.